preview for the Monaco Grand Prix. What a season it's been so far. Is what we were all hoping to say by the time we got to Monaco, because usually it's a very different kind of affair, is Monaco. I don't want to say it's boring, because to be honest with you, it's one of my favourite races of the year, and people are going to have a go at me for that. I get it, it's going to be a procession. There's not going to be loads of overtakes, but what I've said, especially in recent times where we've had all this debate about what tracks should be on the calendar and what shouldn't, I always think each track should offer something completely different, and Monaco, for sure, this is one of the most unique races on the Formula 1 calendar, known as the jewel in the Formula 1 crown. Everyone knows about Monaco. Your nan knows about Monaco. It is the one every single driver wants to win. Unfortunately, only one team has been doing that so far this season, and that's Mercedes, that go into this race having got first and second in every single race this year. A world record, a new feat, a new precedent in Formula 1. 5 1-2s in a row. Can that streak be destroyed this weekend? Let's have a look then at the practice times, because that's always our best kind of look into the weekend. Monaco, if you're not aware, is a little bit different how practice works. Practice 1 and practice 2 actually take place on Thursday. Just how the weekend goes together, there's not enough time to fit in everything because we've got Formula 2 as well this weekend. So these times are a couple of days old. And looking ahead to the weekend, we could, and fingers crossed, we could see some rain in quali and in the race. That would really add a beautiful little element, little spice, little dazzle of spice into the Monaco weekend that we know is already so forgiving. Just makes it that extra bit more dangerous, which is why I think I enjoy Monaco, is that at any moment, anyone could end in the wall. Which is great. Doesn't happen as often, but it could happen, potentially, and the risk is there. Anyway, you would have seen for the past few seconds the results of practice on your screen, and FP1 and FP2, either side. Top 10 I've only done on screen, but you can see Mercedes, once again, the team to beat. Hamilton first in both sessions, smashing it. And Verstappen in the first session, splitting the two Mercedes. In the second session, down in 6th. However, in the second session, there was a water leak problem in Verstappen's car, so he didn't actually set a proper lap time. The same with Leclerc in FP2 as well. He had lots of traffic issues, which is a big factor in Monaco, and finding a space on track can be difficult. And looking how close this midfield is, I think we could see one of the big boys out early on and maybe not make it into Q3 because traffic is just going to be so chaos. People are going to have to be on the ball, have to be aware of what other teams are doing. So keep an eye out for that on Saturday and on Sunday as well. Drivers trying to make different strategy calls, pit stops. We've seen in the past something known as the overcut, where drivers who pit later benefit, but usually if you do the undercut, guys who pit earlier, they benefit. So Monaco, really with strategy, is a bit of a gamble, which obviously, Monaco know for the casinos, makes sense, doesn't it? We'll go through the rest of the result then of first practice. Behind Verstappen in P2 was Bottas in P3, Leclerc P4, Vettel P5. And if you didn't see my video a couple of days ago, just want to mention Niki Lauda. Our thoughts do go out to his family, and lots of drivers and teams are wearing commemorative helmets or even little stickers on their cars. Vettel's helmet there is looking amazing. Probably my favourite helmet of this entire season. So that's been really brilliant to see. Niki Lauda, again, I don't want to go over it too much, but once and still will always be one of my favourite drivers of all time. And if anyone ever asked me if I had a dream team, I would always go Jim Clark and Niki Lauda. And yeah, it's a huge loss, and it's dampened the weekend. And for Mercedes, it's going to be a question on how they're going to use that. Will it drag the team down, which it has every right to do so, or will it really energise the team and push them forward to 6 wins in a row? It really could. Anyway, back to practice. Behind Vettel in P5, Gasly in P6, Hulkenberg P7 was best of the rest, Magnussen P8, Raikkonen P9, Grosjean was the last of the top 10 runners. Just outside of the top 10 we had Ricciardo, Giovinazzi, the 2 Toro Rossos, the 2 Racing Points, the 2 McLarens, and of course the 2 Williams. In second practice, Alex Albon. Actually, before Alex Albon, top 3 were Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel, Gasly P4. That's a bit of a shocker. Will he potentially be in for a shout for a podium? Red Bull should be good at this circuit. Not too sure if they're quite on Mercedes levels. Maybe Verstappen is. Maybe Gasly. If he's lingering around 4th place, there's a bit of a mistake up front or a strategy call. Maybe Gasly could get his first Formula 1 podium. That would be really interesting to see. Anyway, Gasly 4th in second practice. Really strong outing. He's just getting better and better in Red Bull. Not as good as he should be, I will say that, but he's making progress each race, which is exactly what he needs to be doing. But behind him, P5, Alex Albon. Toro Rosso usually do quite well at Monaco, but if they could get a 5th place, what an upset that would be. Ferrari, once again, they're not looking like they're going to be challenging for a victory, which still surprises me. It really does. They seem to have already disregarded this weekend, hoping that maybe they could sneak a podium, but they know it's going to be unlikely. Charles Leclerc at his first home race for Ferrari. It's a big disappointment before the weekend's even begun, but you never know. In Formula 1, I'm still a big believer of that. You do never know, and although this season has been fairly predictable, if you want to call it that, you never know, and I will always watch for that exact reason. Behind Albon, Verstappen, who we mentioned, didn't do any proper running. Magnussen was best of the rest this time. Then Giovinazzi and Raikkonen. Leclerc down in P10. So again, this midfield all over the shop this weekend. Grosjean was 11th this time. Norris and Sainz 12th and 13th. McLaren potentially, this could be a difficult weekend for them. And you know, after what happened last weekend, not qualifying for the Indy 500, could be a string of events to forget for McLaren. Kvyat down in P14, big way away from his teammate Alex Albon. Perez 15th. I don't expect Racing Point to be particularly on the ball this weekend. Another track that they struggle at. And of course, Williams, they were at the very bottom. But between the Racing Point and Williams boys was Renault. Renault have dropped it again. So we just have no Hulkenberg 16th, Ricciardo 17th in FP2. In FP1, they were 7th and 11th. Again, practice. Practice is practice, so we can never truly read into it. But, as we've said over these last couple of Grand Prix now, the midfield still hasn't taken shape. Every single race this year, I feel, we have had a different team at the front of the midfield. Maybe you could argue Haas were in Australia and in Spain. That's a probably fair estimate, I would say. But apart from that, it's just been all over the shop. It really has. Renault were best in Bahrain. Then in China, McLaren were looking okay at the beginning of the weekend, but then fell off very early on in that race. And Toro Rosso were looking pretty racy. Then we go to Azerbaijan, where Racing Point were on it. It's just all over the place. And in the meantime, Alfa Romeo are bossing it. But my predictions for this weekend on the screen now is another Mercedes victory. But I've put Verstappen in at P2. I think the streak will end. Verstappen, I think, is going to cause Mercedes issues all weekend. And I have this funny feeling he might just nab pole. Just after that FP2 result, I'm a little bit more cautious. You know, issues already isn't what Red Bull want to be seeing. It's only a minor issue, but, you know, not the best way to start your weekend. Hamilton, I think, is going to be on fire once again, and I think this will really, especially what, you know, the awful news the team has had. Hamilton in times like this is always able to just find that little bit extra. That's why he's a 5 times world champion, and I think that'll kick him on. I think he's going to smash it this weekend. But Verstappen could be that chink in his armour. Even if he's not, even if it's a Mercedes 1-2 in quali, I expect Verstappen to be causing them issues in the race in terms of strategy and could just nip in P2. To the Grosjean Army and our league. So if you're not in the Formula 1 Reviews league, you can join it in the description. The code's there, the league name is there, it's very straightforward. Almost 500 of you now, but out of my team has gone Charles Leclerc, in has come Max Verstappen. I've also finally taken out Ferrari. You can see I'm in 373rd place, which is awful, but I've had Ferrari and Leclerc in my team the whole season, and I've had Grosjean in the whole season. It's been a mess. It's been a mess, but Verstappen now comes in, Mercedes now comes in. This should be, fingers crossed, a big points haul, and if Ferrari finally win, we know there's a conspiracy. We know if you're in my fantasy team, you don't win, because really it's been diabolical. It really has. But that has been your preview for the Monaco Grand Prix. Mercedes are smashing it. Can they be beaten in Monaco? That's the big question mark. Hopefully you enjoyed qualifying. Formula 2's on this weekend as well, so keep your eye out for that and enjoy the race. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.